Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Stellium Astrology podcast. I'm Stephanie James, your host, and I'm also the founder of stelliumastrology.com, former horoscope columnist for Elle magazine and tutor at the London School of Astrology. And today I want to be talking to you about the sign that is not shy of the spotlight, our lovely Leonine friends. This is the sun sign, the star sign of Leo, which happens to be the fifth sign of the Zodiac. So for me, I think of Leo as the saying for Leo is a bit like that saying or that song, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. That always makes me think of Leo every time. And with Leo comes this creative spark and this sense of discovery of your own special abilities. And fertility is also connected to Leo, and special talents, leadership, fun, children, enjoyment, embracing the inner child, and play. There's also royalty and regality connected with Leo. Now, with the life stage, it's kind of when you're at school and you're developing your individual your unique self, your individuality through creativity and play. And generally, Leo children are quite bold and quite outgoing. My cousin is a Leo, her husband is a Leo, and she has a daughter who's an Aquarius, which is the opposite sign, and a son who's also a Leo. And they're all very strong personalities. But her son, Remy, hello Remy, if you're listening. Hi Remy, little Spider-Man. Remy is so hilarious. Like, he is just an entertainer at his core. When we go to family parties, he comes out with hilarious things to say. And I think he knows he's being funny and he really enjoys it. And when he plays, he really, really gets into the role. He's only young. I don't know how old he is actually. I think Remy's probably about... Is he at school now? I think he's 5, I think. I might be wrong. But he is very... I remember he was walking around at Christmas once and he had a little Hulk hand on. And he was really being the Hulk. He was the Hulk. Like, he was going around really angry, slamming his fist down. I'm the Hulk. And, you know, that's that childlike ability to just totally become somebody else and totally act and get into this role. And, you know, when my sister had her first daughter, I suddenly understood what play actually is through development, and how, you know, there are certain toys aimed at certain age groups because they are actually aimed at which stage the child's development is at, you know, the brain development, and then whether it's like time for, development of speech, or whether they're going through like a kind of tactile branch, or whether it's actually something a bit more, you know, like the sensory aspects, or whether this is actually starting to really form that region of the brain. And I did do a little bit when I was doing counselling studies. We did talk about brain development as well, which absolutely fascinated me. I really got into the whole neuroscientific aspect of counselling and psychotherapy. I really found it fascinating. But, it's with every child, when you watch them play, obviously every child plays in a different way, and some are going to be much more, good at working with others. Some are going to be very independent. But there's a sense of this is a very Leo quality about play. And, just if you've got children, and that whole time in your life where you started to experience the world through your child's eyes is very much, I think, a Leo thing. There is a real sense of embracing fun, embracing joy, embracing play, and rediscovering the world through a child's eyes. I think is very, very Leo. But, you know, it's not just about children, though actually Leo does have a lot to do with children. And if you think about the glyph for Leo, let's talk about the glyph. So it's a little circle with a big squiggle coming off of it. And to most of my students, I've described it as a side profile picture of Amy Winehouse almost. She's not a Leo. She does have Mars and Venus in Leo. but it just looks like her massive beehive. But actually, it could be likened to the sperm as well. And actually, the sun rules Leo, and the sun's glyph is a circle with a dot in the middle, which looks like the ovum, and the nucleus is the dot. So it's interesting that that Leo, and the ruling planet of Leo being the sun, or the luminary being the sun, actually has a very strong fertility aspect to it, which is, you can talk about fertility in the sense of, becoming pregnant, or, having children and having that fertile aspect. But fertility really is about having a kind of a ground which nourishes growth, and this ability to really encourage development. And fertility is creativity, and through creativity, what we create, what we produce, it comes from a point where we have to either create a solution, or whether we are just actually getting in touch with something within us which has this ability to create or come up with something that's either original or improving on something that existed before. So when we think about creative signs, all of the signs of the zodiac will have their own ability to be creative, but there is a particularly creative aspect about Leo, and the fire signs really, that inspiration that I talked about. And actually, where Aries leads by example, Leo kind of inspires other people's confidence in them. So Aries is known to be have a good ability to lead, but actually Leo has leadership qualities himself, and this is why we kind of associate not only having the spotlight with Leo is associated with that ability to lead, but actually the ruling planet being the sun is naturally a spotlight anyway. So Leo is connected to playing and sometimes acting, which, if you think about my cousin's little boy being the Hulk, and sometimes he's Spider-Man, I think he goes through an array of the Marvel characters. Not sure if he's in the DC universe or not, but I think I've only ever seen him doing Marvel. But there's a real sense of play and a real sense of embracing and embodying being something else or someone else. So acting is connected, and I think of Leo as quite theatrical. Not always, and there are some Leos who really do not associate with the spotlight. They don't get it. They're not into it. Sorry, I've got a bit of a tickly throat. But actually, a client of mine who is a Leo, she's got a stellium in Leo, Sun and Mars. I can't remember what else she has, but she has a number of planets in Leo. She doesn't really relate to that spotlight aspect because she's actually got Leo in the 12th house, which is not a showy, it's kind of backstage as far as being a Leo is concerned. It's rather than being. So I think she's got a Virgo ascendant. Excuse me, she's got a Virgo ascendant, but actually her sun in Leo is really making sure things are organised backstage. And actually, they can still be a strong leader, but they don't have to take necessarily the leading role. They might be the supporting role with the sun in the 12th house. So there are times when Leo won't relate to being that showy Leo. There are definitely factors in the chart that could come into it that may describe that actually they're going to be a different type of Leo, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to embrace the Leo essence, which isn't necessarily about showing off their special talents. It could be about using their special talents in a certain way to support, or perhaps promote their own independence and work in their own way. So my client could be quite recognisable by her hair always. She's always had really long flowing mane. She used to have it dyed red, but she has now gone back to her natural colour of blonde, which looks lovely on her. But her hair is, with Leo, often hair will be a feature, and sometimes with Leos, it will be the lack of hair that's the feature. Sometimes it can be that great big shiny bald head. So some people with a strong Leo in their chart may be going, well, I lost my hair when I was this age, or, actually my hair's not that great. It's not this fabulous mane that everybody sort of associates with Leo. Actually, hair will be a feature. it might not necessarily be a great feature, but it might be a noticeable one. So, there is that sense. Sometimes I think Leos actually look very leonine. I was watching a little while ago, I was watching Dirty Dancing with my boyfriend, and I was looking at Patrick Swayze, and I said to my boyfriend, he is so leonine. Look at him. He's such a big cat. If you look at Patrick Swayze, it's like almost, it's the bottom half of the mouth, which it's like from the nose and then the bottom half of the face. So from the nose and the jaw, there's almost that kind of cat-like shape to it. I can't really describe it. And it's almost like they've got, instead of like the proper nose, there's this, it's like this kind of little cat nose. I don't know what the correct term is. And then the mouth is quite, I think the jaw might be quite strong. And I was looking going, gosh, he must have Leo, because he's really got a lot. I can really see it strong in his face. And then a little bit later on, when he's dancing with baby, he takes her hand, she puts her hand in his hand, and his hands were just massive. And my boyfriend at that point said, gosh, look at the size of him. And I was like, oh, right, that's it. I'm looking up his chart. And it was like he had these huge paws. And when we looked, he had a stellium in Leo. I think it might have been sun and moon, actually. Let me quickly look it up. I have to look it up now. Yes, so Patrick Swayze, we've got an A rating for him. So it's quite, we can trust it. Sun, Pluto, Mercury and moon in Leo. Sometimes you can just see it. Sometimes you can. I think Sandra Bullock is also a Leo, and she's very Leo looking to me. I can see, sometimes somebody will look quite solar, but sometimes they'll just look very feline. So you can kind of see that in them as well. Oops, didn't mean to close that. So anyway, try not to digress too much. As I've gone into talking about being leonine, obviously the animal that's associated with Leo is the lion. And the lion is known for its big, fluffy mane, and it's a very not a lazy animal. They definitely seem to enjoy. All cats are very. They enjoy curling up and relaxing, and the saying goes that cats don't have owners; they have staff. And I think that's kind of it's very Leo essence. Generally Leo will be the one that has people sort of fussing around doing things for them. And I guess this is part of where the leadership comes in, because if they can inspire people to kind of have faith in them, they can inspire people to believe in their ability to lead or to be able to do what it is that's asked of them. They kind of can get a bit of a fan club going as well. I find this with fire signs. Fire signs do tend to attract people that like to be next to the warmth. And I think with Leo, that fixed fire, it's like that roaring fire that everybody kind of comes and gathers around. And if you think about people that are on stage, people that are acting, those people that are in the spotlight, they tend to attract an audience. Obviously, if you're a Leo who doesn't attract an audience too easily, that can be a bit frustrating, because a Leo does like to have people that they can perform to. I did work with a woman before who used to take phone calls, and she really enjoyed talking to certain people on the phone. So she'd repeat things very loudly as a way to sort of say, I'm talking to somebody very funny on the phone, and these things should have been private conversations, but she'd repeat things loudly so we'd all look round and see what was going on with her, even though it was like, she was on the phone, private conversation, talking to somebody, and it was very supposed to be, very, almost a therapeutic relationship. But she wanted everybody to know who she was talking to, what they were saying on the other end of the phone, just by making it a bit of a performance on her end. And I can't imagine that would have been very nice for the other person on the phone, because I think I would have very much found it quite patronising, actually. And that's perhaps not such a positive aspect of Leo, that they can seek the spotlight in ways that are not, fair to others in some ways. But, in a more positive way of looking at Leo, they're confident, and where some people might be a bit scared to step up, Leo will definitely not think twice about it. Leo will be very happy to say, yes, I'll do it. Yeah, let me do it. Whenever there's something, can I have a volunteer, please? Me. That'll be the Leo, hand straight up. You can have a small dash of Leo in your chart, and it can be quite complementary, or it can be a huge amount of Leo in your chart, and it could actually be a little bit overbearing. So it's like everything, it's all about balance. And the thing with astrology is we're all born with certain things. I don't know how many people that are born with a totally balanced chart. There's always going to be overemphasis here and lacks in some areas there with everybody. Nobody's got the perfect, I mean, if they have got the perfect chart, I'm yet to find it. But what they tend to have, what people have, is the perfect chart for them. So, we don't all have that natural balance, but we might have, where we lack in some areas, there'll be somebody that makes up for that lack and brings that balance externally. So yes, Leo is definitely much more outgoing and confident and bold and noticeable than some of the other signs of the zodiac. And I tend to find the fire signs are quite noticeable. But actually they are, there's almost an expectation sometimes with that Leo vibe where, like I said, royalty can be associated with being a Leo or that Leo essence. And it is associated with royalty generally, kind of like the top of the food chain really out in the wild, and the way that cats kind of behave. I find people that don't, I've found this with people, that the ones that don't really like cats are the ones that kind of act like them. I've found that a lot with a lot of people when they say, I'm really, really not keen on cats. Either they've got really strong Leo in their chart, or they are just very cat-like in their behaviour, which I find quite interesting. Do you like cats? I'm curious to know whether you like cats or not, if you're more of a dog person. Are you one of those dog people that goes, I hate cats? Or are you one of those people who just likes cats and dogs and isn't particularly fussed? I am actually somebody who likes cats and dogs. I've had both. I like cats because they're a lot easier to look after. Dogs are a lot more high maintenance actually. So even though cats do tend to be in their own way kind of high maintenance because they have staff, dogs do really need a lot more care. So I am more of I'm much more of a cat person, just purely based on convenience to an extent, but also because they're cute. I love them, as you know. I'm sure you've picked up on that along the way listening to this podcast. So at best, Leo, actually, let's talk about the part of the body. So actually, the heart is ruled by Leo, and so is the spine. So perhaps people that are lacking in confidence might come across as not really having much of a backbone because they haven't got the ability to speak up for themselves. And, with Leo ruling the heart, there's almost a sense of, that kind of passion, and the people that sort of just follow your heart. You just have to follow your heart's desires and you're going to get there. Even down to things like the Wizard of Oz, the lion who was in search for I think he was in search for courage, actually, wasn't he? The lion, he was in search for courage, but you can associate Leo with being courageous, the courageous lion. There is that sense of courageousness, that leonine quality with Leo. But yes, at best, Leo is optimistic and self-reliant. I know a lot of people with Leo in their chart that were very independent quite early on because they know exactly what they want and they know how they want to do it. Natural leaders. Now, whether that's a leader in the sense that they're, leading a nation, or whether they're an office manager in some way, there's a sense of stepping into a role where they will be in the spotlight. I think there's a quite a strong relationship between Capricorn and Leo in many respects, where they don't shy away from, taking on a leading role. Whereas, Capricorn might be the leader that carries the responsibility heavily on his shoulders. With Leo, I think that they're more of they enjoy the perks that come with leadership, and they enjoy, perhaps affording themselves items with their riches that they earn from being a leader as well. So having lots of blingy stuff. I noticed that lady that I was talking about, who was a Leo that I worked with, not all Leos are very blingy and into glitzy, like showy clothing, but this woman used to like really adorn herself with lots of jewelry. She had very long nails, and she would, wear very glittery tops, sometimes with lots of sequins. And actually, I used to sit there and think, what is it about Leos that do like to have this kind of glitz about them? And I kind of figured that actually it's to do with having this, like, Leos have inner glitter. I think that Leos have inner glitter, and actually it's like having that inner light, that solar kind of sense, that kind of, they're ruled by the sun and they have this solar quality about them, that actually they kind of like to wear things that reflect the light from the sun, or they like to represent the sun in some way through what they're wearing. Not always. I'm not saying that every Leo I know is wearing all these glittery clothes and that. I know that's not the case. I think that's some special cases, but I think they're more inclined to wear much more glamorous and showy things than others. Other good qualities for Leo is that they're really creative, and they're in touch with their inner child, and quite generous and quite playful. And Leo can be quite fun and quite playful. But on the flip side of that, at worst, they can be a little bit bossy and lazy. They can, if we think about cats, the way that they can meow at us and, just want to be, if they could, some cats could have it their way, they would literally just sit there and just have everything come to them. Maybe I can be a bit like that sometimes as well, to be fair. I think we all can to an extent, but I think that with Leo, perhaps it could be a bit more of a theme. They can be quite egocentric. And this is where they kind of expect the spotlight, and they can be quite jealous of other people who do have the spotlight over them. That can be a bit of an issue sometimes if you're achieving something that perhaps another Leo feels entitled that they should have it. It can be a little bit difficult because they can be a bit jealous and can give you a bit of a hard time. And yes, whether or not they're aware of it, sometimes they can be a bit condescending. And maybe prone to showboating a little bit, and egocentric, narcissistic. Obviously narcissism is a bit of a buzzword these days, but there is a tendency that if there's a heavy Leo emphasis, and perhaps the person hasn't had the ability to do a lot of self-reflection and understanding themselves, there could be, we're all on the narcissism spectrum somewhere, but it can be stronger in some than others. Now, I'm not saying that only Leos can be narcissistic. That's not the case. However, there can be a what about me quality about Leo. But what about me? Poor me. It's all about, I want to be in the spotlight. And it's that, when I was talking about my niece a little while ago, I can't remember which episode, I may have been talking about on the Taurus episode, about how if you're an only child for a long time and then a sibling turns up, it can be a little bit like, you can get quite jealous. Suddenly you've got to share everything. And I feel like with Leo, there is that sense as well, that kind of, you've grown up feeling special or wanting to be special because perhaps you didn't feel special, but there is a kind of fighting for yourself and fighting for, recognition in some way. So I think recognition is also important to Leo. But anyway, let's get on to, I've picked out a chart today for you, one of my subscribers that came along a little while ago. Now, I have had a lot of people submit some charts to me, and I've got quite a few Leo moons, but I'm not going to do Leo moon. I'm going to do one chart today because this one's got a stronger Leo signature than some of the others. So this is a chart from a lady called Deborah, who has sent me her chart from all the way down under in Australia. Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for submitting your chart to me. Now, Deborah has a lot of earth in her chart. She's got a Virgo moon. She's got Venus, Moon, Mars and Pluto in Virgo, and she's got Capricorn rising and Saturn in Capricorn as well. So that's sitting in the 12th house, and perhaps a little bit difficult to grasp, as I was talking about that kind of backstage quality with the 12th house before, when I was talking about perhaps not wanting to be the centre of the spotlight. However, Deborah also has Sun, Uranus and Mercury in Leo. And so 3 planets plonked there in Leo in her chart, which immediately I pick up on a sense of conflict in Deborah's chart, because she has got that moon in Virgo, the moon, Mars, Pluto and Venus in Virgo, which is kind of a servitude placement, because Virgo is not about being out there and being in the spotlight and being, the star of the show. They're actually much more introverted and happier behind the scenes, whereas that Sun, Uranus and Mercury is very outgoing. And a Sun Uranus person is somebody who would probably most likely be quite unique, have very unique abilities, and with Mercury being in the mix as well, somebody who speaks about, you know, that talks about things that are perhaps a little bit out of step with what's currently fashionable or currently acceptable to say. So this might be somebody who actually isn't too scared to speak about what they really care about. And actually, you know, by speaking about some of these issues, you raise awareness, you kind of awaken people to issues that they may not have been so aware of previously. And the Virgo moon and Venus and Mars and Pluto is, you know, a very caring aspect itself. So there's a lot of caring for others, and dealing with probably is very around the ninth and eighth houses here, and part of the seventh. This is very kind of other person orientated and dealing with lots of difficulties where you might be entangled with other people in a way. There may be a challenge where, you know, breaking free from other people may be part of your journey in life, because that sun in Leo is, you know, a very wanting to feel special. And in the eighth house, you know, it's about the mysteries, it's about the unknown, it's about taboo subjects, but it's also about, you know, being committed and kind of entangled with other people as well. So there's a sense that, you know, there may have been an event in your life where you had to break away from something and actually you found it incredibly liberating, whether or not it was actually the liberation was, you know, in conflict with your sense of commitment to the person. So it may have been a difficult, but actually ultimately very healthy breaking away in some way. Perhaps it was a divorce, or maybe it was, you know, you were in a financial commitment with somebody that actually, once that commitment had been fulfilled, you know, that sense of cutting away from that commitment and, you know, being able to lead your own life individually was a great sense of relief for you, perhaps. You know, this could be a charity-minded person. This could be somebody who works for a charity focused on children. You know, Leo being the sign of children and, you know, that kind of play, that childlike. This could be a Save the Children person, or somebody who does, you know, like overseas aid for children, you know, like somebody who provides that kind of ability for children to really be children when they come from places that are so deprived that they don't actually have the experience that all children should really have growing up. But, you know, this is also somebody who, you know, having that kind of Uranian liberation quality about them. You know, the thing about having Uranus in conjunction with your sun, any of the outer planets being in conjunction with the inner planets, is it immediately makes you an outer planet person, which means that you are somebody who embodies whatever's going on in the zeitgeist, that current theme that's going through. You play into it somehow using the God that stands beside you. So for you walk through your life with Uranus walking beside you. And actually, a part of the story of Uranus, which is interesting, is that he had many children, which are actually quite scary, horrific children, so badly so that he kind of rejected them. And it's very interesting that having Uranus in the sign of Leo, which is another child-orientated sign, there could well be a sense of, you know, rejection from when you were a child, or maybe even there's a sense of dealing with rejected children in some way, and helping those children. This could be a social worker as well, you know, somebody who has dealing with people that come from difficult family backgrounds, who you know, have parents that don't recognise the need to encourage that the play in their children, that kind of that special ability that children need to have in order to feel inspired to want to grow into you know, their uniqueness and become the adult that they were born to be. This could be the role that you play, where you help to provide a sense of stability where children don't have it, and through that they are confident enough to grow into their own personal leader. So that's just looking at your chart a little bit, and hopefully it resonated. I'd love to know whether or not you do any of that kind of work, or if it spoke to you in any kind of way. Please do let me know, Deborah. And also, if you're listening on your phone, if you could just do a little screenshot and just tag at Stellium Astro on Instagram, that would be brilliant. Or wherever you are, even if you send it to me in an email, Stephanie@stelliumastrology.com. I just need to know if you're listening and if you're loving it. It's definitely the little bits of feedback that I get really inspire me to keep going. So especially when I'm recording episodes that just suddenly get deleted and I don't know where they've gone and I have to re-record them again, keeps me going. So thank you, Deborah. I'm sure we'll have a look at your chart again because you've got two stelliums. They are in a difficult kind of aspect to each other. And just one other thing I would say is that, well, when I say they're difficult aspect, it's not that they're difficult aspect, it's that they're in conflicting signs, the essence of the extrovert and the introvert, and the servitude aspect in conflict with the leadership aspect of Leo and Virgo. But also you've got Saturn making an aspect to your stellium in Leo from the 12th house, which actually again is it provides a sense of grounding, but also there's a sense of really wanting to serve in some way. So I think that your need for service overshadows your need for the spotlight. So your Leo stuff you may not identify so much with your Leo stuff. That's the sense that I get from you, from your chart, that actually you are definitely much more of a giver than a taker, and that you perhaps reject that quality of Leo. Maybe that Sun Uranus is rejecting some of those Leo qualities. Maybe you meet people that are like that, and maybe you've been in relationships with people that are much more embodying that Leo quality, and you find yourself living out a much more Virgoan kind of journey in this life. So yeah, please do let me know. And I picked out a Leo. Obviously, I spoke about Patrick Swayze, who is great, actually. He's a great one to look at if you just want to look at somebody who looks like a Leo. I really think he embodies that Leo look. He really does. I think he's got a very cat-like look about him. But actually, I picked out Meghan Markle. Now, Meghan Markle, remember me saying about this regality. What's interesting about the royalty and regality of Meghan is that she wasn't even born into that role. She was married into it. Now, she's got Sun and Mercury in Leo. She's got Cancer rising, which if you listen to the last episode, I talked about how Cancer can be about the family and about the wider family, kind of like, your whole country that you come from, or perhaps, there's that sense of belonging and patriotism. And she's got Moon in Libra as well. So she's got a stellium in Libra, actually. She's got Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Libra. Now her birth chart rating is the AA as well, so it's we can be quite confident that that's accurate. So actually, with Meghan, you'd expect that relationships are going to play a very key role in her life with that Moon in Libra. That Moon in the Cancer rising would be something to do with perhaps a sense of patriotism in some way, but also Cancer themes as well, where she may have, I think she had a food blog before she, she was obviously, she's an actress. She was in Suits and she was in Fringe, and quite successful in her own right before she was even connected to Prince Harry. She enjoys food, which you'd expect to hear from somebody who's got Cancer rising. I guess perhaps she's quite a maternal type of person, which if you've seen some of the charity work she's been doing while she's been going out with Harry when they did their royal duties, she was actually compared a lot to Princess Diana in her ability to be a nurturing and comforting figure to some of the children that she was encountering when she was doing some of her charity work. And also with her Leo sun and her Mercury in Leo as well, having, she's naturally adapted to the spotlight through her acting work. She had her blog, which was, I think, followed by quite a lot of people. She had that kind of impulse to share and to connect with other people through writing and through blogging that she had with her Leo sun. But also she stepped in, like I said, she stepped into this royalty role, which it was really exciting when Harry had a girlfriend, and like a serious girlfriend, and the way that they, if we think about how Harry and Meghan got together, their relationship was kept very tightly private, no media kind of acknowledgement at all for I think at least a year and a half, and then they started to make announcements, and Meghan was not allowed to have her blog anymore. I think that she lost control of her Instagram account because they had to, obviously, the royal family, she was marrying into this big royal family where suddenly, you are part of, even though you're part of this royalty, there's this big image thing that they had to kind of control as far as that's concerned. So quite interesting to look at that, and the fact that she stepped down from her royal duties with Harry. One of the things that I think that Meghan did was, whether or not this is something that is looked upon favourably or not, I think Meghan has encouraged Harry to understand that this is his only life and that he should be enjoying it. Whether or not that comes from a sinister place from her perspective as having an agenda of her own, who knows? Like I said, I don't know what motivates Meghan Markle, but I have no idea about her personally. But it's interesting that she's trying to awaken Harry to the fact that this is the only life we get, so you should be enjoying it. And Harry has stepped down from his more senior role in the royal family along with Meghan. So that's an interesting thing to observe as well about them. Now, I think that's it really. I don't think I've got anything else to say about that. So I hope you found this episode interesting. Perhaps a Leo who might like this episode, so please share it with them. Encourage them to tune in and let me know whether or not you agree or not with what I've said. Like I said, please screenshot, and if you could subscribe, rate and review this episode, I would appreciate that greatly. It helps other people find the episode. It suggests my podcast to people that are looking for other astrology podcasts, so I would be very grateful if you could do that. And I hope you're enjoying the show. Please get in touch if I've discussed your chart at any point, or if you'd like to be featured on the show. All you have to do is subscribe to my website. Go to my website, stelliumastrology.com, and subscribe to the mailing list, where you'll be sent a link with the application form for the podcast. So please do that if you'd like to. I've got a number of charts that I need to factor into a few future episodes, but that shouldn't stop you. There's plenty of episodes to come, and I'm working on them all the time. So take care, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye now.